Well, hello. Welcome to Animals Attack. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Leslie. I do have another channel called CRYPTIDS Canada. I'll put a link to that in the description below. So I've got a little bit of experience at having a YouTube channel, although this is the first go around with Animals That Attack. This is the very first episode. And if you would like to send in your animal attack or encounter or just a story that you really enjoyed, send it to animalsattack2022@gmail.com. Again, I'll put it in the description box below. And so without further ado, I'll get on with the story. Hello, Leslie. It seems odd to me to write a story to you about animal attacks. I sent my cryptid encounter to you many, many months ago, but this story comes from when I was a young boy. This takes place in Georgia in the late 60s. These were back in the days when playing outside was a must. Neighborhoods were packed full with kids, unlike today when kids could go their whole lifetime and not even see another kid outside of school. This was a beautiful hot summer day, and there was the usual group of us, 8 or 9 kids, playing in the street. Football, kickball, hide-and-go-seek, we were always playing in the streets. This one day, we saw Danny and Cindy's dad pull into their driveway after work. He yelled to the kids to come home for their dinner. Soon the rest of us went inside to eat as well with our families. After dinner, I was the first one back outside, sitting on my front lawn waiting for the other kids to come out. Sure enough, Danny was the next one, and he was carrying a little brown fur ball. I jumped up and ran over, and Danny had received an early birthday present in the form of a puppy, and boy was he cute. Danny called his new best friend Freddie. After that, Danny and Freddie were inseparable. Everywhere us kids went, Freddie was sure to follow. Even when we went to the movies, Freddie came. I believe that Danny was the first to carry a duffel bag with Freddie inside for such occasions as trips to the movies. Freddie never did get any heavier than about 8 or 10 pounds, but boy, that dog was fierce for all of us kids. One day, when Freddie was about 2 years old, all of us kids stood at the front door of a new girl who had just moved into the neighborhood. We had already spoken to the mother, who was inside getting her daughter to come out and play with us. Freddie was on the ground sniffing around, and the rest of us were just talking about the day's plans, and suddenly we heard the scream of a woman, who we guessed correctly was the mom who had just moved in. She was screaming the name Spike, Spike, hysterically from inside their open garage door. Then, as if it already had its plan, this very muscular Doberman came running from around the corner, and it zeroed in on Freddie. Freddie barked and actually ran at the Doberman in an effort to protect his boy, and no doubt all of us if it would have come down to that. But sadly, all of us kids were petrified and stood like statues as this Doberman grabbed Freddie by his fist-sized head and began shaking him like a rag doll. The sound of Freddie's neck breaking was heard and understood by all of us. We all had lost our fear at that moment, albeit a little late, but we started hitting the Doberman with the 2 bats we had brought to play softball in the field. We beat that Doberman into submission. At the same time, the woman rounded the corner. All she saw was the beating we were giving her vicious dog. The sight of Danny on his knees holding his beloved little Freddie will always be burned into my mind's eye. But the saddest part was that Danny's parents were sued because the Doberman had suffered extensive wounds from us beating it off poor Freddie. Us kids were all under 12 years of age and had to go to court on behalf of Danny's parents. The judge found in favor of the Doberman because we weren't invited to the property and Freddie wasn't on a leash. Also, we kids acted irrationally as we admitted that we reacted when we realized the Doberman had already killed Freddie by breaking his neck. It's funny how I can remember all the details surrounding the cruelty of an animal, but I can't remember my own middle name at the age of 74 years of age. I hope you can use this story. It's signed The Old Man. Well, not only can I use this story, I can totally relate to this story. As I was reading it, I was seeing it playing over in my mind, almost the same scenario that happened to us when we were kids, except the players were Ricky and his little dog Peanut. So yes, it meant a lot to me, and you were the very first story of this channel. So yahoo! Anyways, guys, I've got time. I'm going to do another one. Okay, this one is titled Rampant Rabies. Hello, Leslie. So, I'm an avid fan of Cryptids Canada, and when you mentioned you wanted to start a new channel, I am all over it. I am desperate to see a cryptid, but being an avid outdoorsman, I have had some crazy attack stories. The first one I want to start with took place in late June of 2015. My best friend Wayne and my girlfriend Jennifer and I were hiking the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Jennifer is a city girl who wears high heels to take the trash out, if she has to take it out. My girlfriend and I recently transferred there and invited my best friend Wayne to come for a visit to stay for a week's holidays. Wayne was the lucky one of the group to have had a Bigfoot encounter a few years earlier, and he is willing to send it in to you if you want. So anyway, on with the story. We had chosen to hike the Jenny Lake Loop, which we heard wasn't that difficult, as my girlfriend isn't the outdoorsy type, as I mentioned. She knows nothing about the outdoors, although she is trying, and I'm mentioning this to you because she only listens to Cryptids Canada, so I think I'm safe to send the story here. Anyways, it was a gorgeous spring day, a perfect day for hiking. Oh, I want to mention all three of us were carrying that day because grizzlies were common with their young at that time of the year, and they had been seen nearby, so we had our pistols and bear spray. So off we went early in the morning. The lake was spectacular. The wildflowers were in bloom, and the smell of spring was upon us. We came upon a small hill, yelling out, "Hey bear," just to be safe. As we got to the top of the hill, we came upon a coyote that appeared to be on its back, wiggling back and forth to scratch its back. It heard us, and it jumped up. It started doing what looked like a playful dance. It was scooting backwards and wiggling its back end. And Jenny was cooing softly at it and saying, oh, how sweet it was. It was Wayne who said, "No, it's not cute, it's sick." Then the coyote took off running, but it was staggering and falling a lot. Wayne said, "What do you bet it has rabies?" Even I was concerned at that point. So we kept to the trail, and the coyote disappeared from sight. We walked off the trail and went closer to the lake to have lunch after a while. As we ate, we kept getting blasted with the scent of skunk, and man, it was strong. Then Jen pointed out that there was something squealing, seeming to be in pain. So we packed up our garbage and lunch remains and started back up the trail. We could still hear the scuffle that we had heard during lunch. So we followed the sounds off the trail to some small bushes, and right there behind the bushes was a skunk and a raccoon in a full-on battle. The skunk, who was clearly the smaller of the two, was destroying the raccoon's face. It was chomped down on the raccoon's snout, and it was twisting and rolling, and the poor raccoon was squealing in pain and fighting for dear life. Jenny was holding onto my arm and hiding behind me, when all of a sudden we heard bam! We both jumped back, then heard another bam. Wayne was pointing his pistol in the direction of the Racoon and Skunk, who were now both dispatched. I looked at him shocked and said, "What the heck?" And he said the Skunk was definitely rabid, and the Racoon would never have survived that attack. And if it did, it would definitely have rabies. I asked Wayne how he knew so much about rabies, and he said he worked with the forestry department years earlier and worked for a department that tried to control the rabies disease. He went on to say what a terrible, terrible disease it is and how it was such a horrible way for an animal to die. So on we walked, unless I'm not kidding when I say 10 minutes later we saw a female grizzly walk across the path towards the lake, followed by 2 cubs. And that's when Jenny whispered, "Oh, good Lord, I'm out of here. If that bear has rabies, then we're all dead." Wayne and I had to contain our hysterical laughter, and we all turned around and made for the car in double time. Jenny obviously didn't realize how funny that comment really was. Anyways, thank you for your channel. Thank you for this new channel. Signed, Snake Boy. Okay, I have to admit that was funny. It definitely lightened up the mood, for sure. If you've never seen an animal dying of rabies, then you're lucky. If you have, you know you'll never get that vision out of your mind. It's heartbreaking, just heartbreaking. And I wish there was more that we could do for that terrible disease. I know the forestry guys really do spend an awful lot of time trying to keep it in check, and we don't realize just how bad some things are out there, you know. And these behind the scenes guys deserve a lot of praise, I'll tell you. Okay, my new friends and my old friends, I think that's going to be it for this very first episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and hit that like button, hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment because I love reading the comments, and hopefully see you back here in a couple of days. And don't forget, subscribe and send in your animals attack encounters or stories. Okay, bye for now.